Hello students. So today we are going to learn about standard 7 chapter number 7 motion, force and work. So everyone knows the meaning of motion. Motion means that whenever one object changes its position from one point to another point, it is called as motion. And every motion required a force. We have seen that a changes occur in the motion or the shape of the body when a force acts on it. Now let us see how work is done when a force acts. Now the first is distance and displacement. As you can see in the picture, Ranjit house is at the place A. Ranjit ka house at place A hai in the figure, and Ranjit reached school at point D. If we do not take the direction into the account, we find that the Ranjit traversed a distance equal to AB plus BC plus CD. However, on doing this, his displacement was equal to the AD. Ranjit's displacement from his house to school is shown in the picture with the broken line A to D. AD is the minimum distance along the straight line from Ranjit's school. The minimum distance traveled in a particular direction along a straight line is called as the displacement. Now, as you can see in the figure, look at the picture. The Ranjit house is at point A and the school is at point D. He travels the distance from A to B. First he go from A to B, then B to C, then C to D directly school. But what if he directly travel from point A to D? A to D is the shortest distance now from home to school. But he didn't take that distance. He go from A to B, B to C and C to D. So A to D is the minimum distance. So minimum distance between 2 points is called as its displacement. The minimum distance traveled in a particular direction along a straight line is called as the displacement. Now speed and velocity. Before speed and velocity, let's see the distance and displacement. Okay. देखो, the length of the route actually traveled by a moving body irrespective of its direction is called as the distance. Distance is a scalar quantity. Now, distance means that whatever a person is traveling from any direction, the total length he covered, like in the Ranjit case, he go from A to B, B to C and C to D. So this is nothing but the distance, because here direction doesn't matter and the total length we calculate. But when it comes to the displacement is nothing but the shortest distance. So shortest distance was A to D directly. A to D is the shortest distance. So that is called as the displacement. Displacement is nothing but the vector quantity. Now velocity. Velocity is the distance traveled by the body in a specific direction in a unit time. The velocity of a body can be calculated by using the formula. So there is a formula is given for the velocity. Velocity is equals to displacement upon the period of time required. Velocity we nothing but the whenever distance is covered in a particular direction in a particular time, that time it is called as the velocity with respect to time. Now, when we say that the speed of a car is 40 km per hour, there is no need to specify the direction. But to predict whether a storm will be reached at a particular place or not, mention of its direction. Now, whenever we does not mention the direction, that time we just give the speed. For example, 40 kilometer, 60 kilometer, 70 kilometer. This is the speed. But if I say 40 kilometer in north direction, then it is called as the velocity. Now, the unit of the speed or velocity is written as meter per second. The unit for speed and velocity both are the same, that is meter plus second. Let us now use the above formula to find out the Ranjit velocity and speed when he goes to the school. The actual distance traversed by the Ranjit from point A to from home to school. How he goes from home to school? First he go from A to B, B to C, then C to D. So you will just add directly A to B, B to C and C to D. Look at in this image. A to B is 500 meter, B to C is 700 meter and C to D is 300 meter. You will add this. Why? Because he go like this. So total he cover the distance 1500 meter and the total time for required is 500 meter he required 8 minutes, 700 meter he required 11 minutes and for the 300 meter he required the 6 minutes and total time taken by is 25 minutes. But what if he directly go from point A to D? अगर वो directly जाता, so he will directly go ना, he can directly go from A to D a straight line that is 1000 meter, so he has to come walk ना, इतना ज़्यादा उसको ट्रैवलिंग नहीं करना पड़ता. So that time what we are doing, we are calculating the displacement. Now let's calculate its displacement. Velocity is equals to displacement upon time. Displacement means that the shortest distance. और shortest distance कितना था हमारा 1000 का था ना, 1000 upon 25. So let's calculate it. Now 1000, then we will cut, इसको आप cut करो 5 से, then you have 40 meter upon 60 second, and then that will come like a 0.66 meter per second. And let's calculate its speed. Speed means the total distance. Total distance उसने कितना cover किया है? Total distance was like 1500 meter upon 25 minutes. So it will be like a 60 meter upon 60 seconds. So it will be like 1 meter per second. So उसका स्पीड ज़्यादा हो गया and velocity कम हो गया. Ranjit did not take the straight route. As you know that Ranjit did not take the straight route distance while going to the school. Therefore the magnitude of its velocity and the speed came out to be a very different. Ranjit actually gone by the straight route AD. Then the magnitude of his velocity and the speed would have been the same. Average velocity and the instantaneous velocity. Now what do you mean by the average velocity and the instantaneous velocity? Let's see. The velocity of an object can change even while it's moving along a straight line. Suppose that a truck is covering a distance of 40 km from A to D in a straight line, that is displacement will be 40 km. Now look at here. If a truck is covering a distance from A to D, it is a straight line, but still its velocity changes time to time. How it will change? देखो, A to B is 10 km, B to C is also 10 km, but C to D is 20 km. अगर उसको if it's required altogether 1 hour for its average velocity to cover 40 km per hour, the truck traveled to the 10 km distance AB in the 10 minutes, BC in the 20 minutes and CD in 30 minutes. Now A to B चलने के लिए उसको 10 minutes लग रहे, B से C चलने के लिए उसको 20 लग रहे और C से D चलने के लिए उसको कितने लग रहे? 30 लग रहे. टाइम तीनों जगह पे उसका चेंज हुआ है. पहला वाला 10 है, दूसरा 20 है, इसके बाद 30 है. टाइम चेंज हुआ मीन्स ऑब्वियसली वेलोसिटी विल बी चेंज. सो पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट के ऊपर जो वेलोसिटी चेंज होती है दैट टाइम इट इज कॉल्ड एज द इंस्टेंटेनियस वेलोसिटी. टोटल वेलोसिटी विल बी डिफरेंट. टोटल वेलोसिटी विल बी लाइक 40 मिनट्स. उसका 40 किलोमीटर था ना, 40 किलो ए टू डी का पूरा 40 किलोमीटर डिस्टेंस है और वो कवर करने के लिए उसको 60 मिनट्स लगे हैं. दैट विल बी द एवरेज. बट ए टू बी के लिए उसको कितना टाइम लग रहा है? 10 मिनट्स. बी टू सी के लिए 20 और सी टू डी के लिए 30. तो ये पॉइंट पॉइंट पे जो आप वेलोसिटी कैलकुलेट करोगे दैट विल बी योर इंस्टेंटेनियस वेलोसिटी. नाउ द नेक्स्ट इज एक्सेलरेशन. Acceleration means everybody know the meaning of acceleration. Acceleration in the bike, in the motorcycle, car, you have a accelerator. The function of that accelerator is very simple, is nothing but to increase or decrease the speed. तो acceleration means क्या, आप स्पीड बढ़ा रहे हो या कम कर रहे हो, और आप उसको जब एक डायरेक्शन के साथ करोगे तो द स्पीड विल बिकम अ वेलोसिटी. सो acceleration is very simple. Change in velocity required divided by the time taken for the change. जितना टाइम लग रहा है उस चेंज को दैट इज कॉल्ड एज द एक्सेलरेशन. नाउ देखो, इन द प्रीवियस एग्जाम्पल द ट्रक कवर्ड द डिस्टेंस ए बी एट वेलोसिटी ऑफ 60 किलोमीटर पर आवर, बी सी एट 30 किलोमीटर पर आवर एंड सी डी एट 40 किलोमीटर पर आवर. इट मीन्स दैट द वेलोसिटी फॉर द डिस्टेंस सी डी इज ग्रेटर दैन द वेलोसिटी फॉर द डिस्टेंस बी सी. सी डी से ज़्यादा बी सी का ग्रेटर था. सी डी इज ग्रेटर दैन बी सी. बी सी का कम था और सी डी का ज़्यादा था. From the number of the second required for this change in the velocity to take place, the change in the velocity per second can be deduced. This is called as the acceleration. Acceleration is very simple, is nothing but the change in velocity. At which point the velocity gets changed and how much time required for that change is called as the acceleration. You know that the truck driver increases or decreases the velocity of the truck by means of the accelerator. You might have seen a toy car that runs on a clockwork spring when it released on a flat floor. After winding up the spring, it goes in a straight line. However, when it hits on one side, it changes direction and keeps going. If it collides into a wall, it stops. It means that the velocity changes. How did this change take place? It happens because of the car comes in a contact with the something external to do. On a football ground, how does the direction of the ball moving in a straight line changes? We see some player changing its direction by kicking it. When its direction changes, the velocity of the ball changes. That is, say that acceleration takes place. The interaction that bring about the acceleration is called as the force. Now, For the acceleration, for required any kind of a change, force is required. Without applying a force, you cannot change the direction of any object. So force is very necessary when it comes to the acceleration or a motion. Now the next point is, you have given one experiment. Take a glass marble and let it roll on a big smooth tabletop. After some time its velocity will decreases and it will stop. On a carom board too, the carom coin pushed by a striker will move forward some distance and then come to a stop. If the coin is pushed after applying the talcum powder to the carom board, it will keep moving for a long time and then come to the stop. What we can infer from this, that what we can say, that the velocity of the coin decreases. Velocity will decreases due to the force of friction and the coin stop. If the friction between the carom board and the coin is reduces, the coin keep moving for a longer time. It would mean that if no force or friction is acting on a moving body, it will keep on moving with the constant velocity. The scientist Sir Isaac Newton was the first to study the force and resulting the acceleration. Who studied the force? The first study is done by the Sir Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton has given the gravity plus laws of motion, movement of inertia. These are the things which is invented by the Sir Isaac Newton. Now in your chapter you only have a Newton's first law of motion. There are total 3 laws. You have only first law. Now, what do you mean by Newton's first law of motion? If no force is acting on a body, its velocity does not change. Let the body If no force is acting on the body, its velocity does not change. Let the body uh, the body does not accelerate. In other words, if a body is a stationary, it will remain stationary. If it's in a motion, will continue moving with the same velocity and your same direction. You have learned what do you mean by देखो Newton's first law of motion is very simple. It is just like that. अगर कोई ऑब्जेक्ट स्टेशनरी मोशन में है, फॉर एग्जांपल यू हैव एनी ऑब्जेक्ट इन द स्टेशनरी मोशन, वो तब तक अपनी पोजीशन चेंज नहीं करेगा जब तक आप उसके ऊपर फोर्स अप्लाई नहीं करोगे. यानी कि विदाउट अप्लाइंग अ फोर्स अ डायरेक्शन और मोशन कैन नॉट हैपन इन द ऑब्जेक्ट. इट्स द न्यूटन फर्स्ट लॉ. Now the last topic you have, that is force and displacement and the work. Now look at the figure that is called as the work. In the figure above, along a string attached to the wooden block on a table is passed over a pulley and tied to up a weight. On applying a sufficient weight, the block will be seen to move. Which force is getting been applied? How this force be increased? What will happen on applying a more force? When we can say that the work is done by the applied force? If the block moves forward, we can say that it has been displaced due to the displacement. We say that the force has done some work. Can we measure this work? We know that the work done depend upon the force and the displacement. The following formula expresses this relationship. Now work done by the force is equals to force applied to the body into displacement. Work का formula है force into displacement. If you want to calculate any kind of a work, you have to just apply the amount of force you have applied into its displacement. आपने कितना force apply किया और वो कितना movement हुआ है उसको आपको multiply करना है, then you will get the work. इन द एसआई सिस्टम द यूनिट ऑफ वर्क इज जूल. वर्क का यूनिट जूल है और फोर्स का यूनिट न्यूटन है और डिस्प्लेसमेंट का यूनिट मीटर है. जबकि सीजीएस सिस्टम के अकॉर्डिंग वर्क का यूनिट होता है अर्ज. So here we have completed our chapter number 7. The PDF is already shared with you. Complete your science notebook.